Good morning again.
Good morning, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am.
Okay, so we discussed about positive and negative reinforcement, aversive conditioning, and also token economy. Now, the techniques that are left are systematic desensitization and modeling. Two are left. Before that, we'll see some examples and pictures and come back. Okay, behavioral techniques. This one. Which technique is this? Having a bath. Why would be bath daily? Or if not daily, at least once in a while. Why do we take a bath? What are the
For
benefits? Yes?
for refreshing ourselves,
For refreshing ourselves, okay. So that would become what reinforcement?
positive reinforcement,
Positive reinforcement. Okay. Then what else? Have you ever thought about this? Why do we bath daily? Huh? Or is it because mom insists so? Especially on Sunday evenings or Sunday mornings. Yes? Think of it. Amal, you have any opinion on this? Why do you take a bath on a daily basis?
Ma'am, to be clean.
To be clean. Okay. Again, that is positive reinforcement, right? Is it? Yeah. It makes us fresh. Okay. Then it can also be considered in terms of negative reinforcement. Just think what negative reinforcement is and try to connect this example. So the behavior is bathing. Okay. And we are trying to increase this behavior. That means we bath daily, on a daily basis. Why do we do that behavior repeatedly? What has been eliminated from the situation if we are bathing? Especially during this pandemic itself, if you had an emergency and you had to go out, and then when you come back, you usually wash your hands or you take a bath, isn't it? Yes? Yes. Why do you do so?
protect ourselves and others from the virus.
Yes, to protect ourselves so that, what do you call that, agent, that is virus or germs, all those are removed, isn't it? They are taken away. So that is again negative reinforcement. We are increasing our bathing behavior or washing behavior, and this particular thing is removed from our life. Especially when you talk about people who sweat so much. Hmm? A foul smell will be there, isn't it? If they sweat so much. So to remove that, they engage in bathing behavior. Okay, so something that they don't like is taken away from them. That is foul smell, for example. Foul smell is removed from their life, and so because of that, this bathing behavior is increased, which is a good behavior for them, and they consider this case. Okay, so in case of negative reinforcement, also we can picturize this. That is why I gave this example. Okay, then aversive conditioning. This is a very common example that we can see. Aversive conditioning to get rid of nail biting, you could paint your nails with a nasty tasting nail polish. Okay, yes. And the what will be the reaction of the person who bites the nails with the nail polish on? Would it be very interesting? Not really, isn't it? It would probably taste bitter, I suppose. Yeah, so we wouldn't like it. So obviously, what will happen? The pleasure that they get from biting the nail will be obviously gone. So they'll associate nail biting with this nasty smell of or nasty taste of the nail polish. So that is being associated. They are being paired. Okay, nail biting, that behavior is being paired with the bad taste of the nail polish, the bitter taste of the nail polish. So because of that pairing, next time they try to bite the nail, they'll think of or they'll associate that with the earlier experience, that is the bad taste or the nasty taste. Then will they bite again? Never. Okay, or they are less likely to do it. That is again aversive conditioning. Now next is positive reinforcement, which we all know. This happens in terms of dog training also. That's why I mentioned this picture. Introduce a reinforcing stimulus following a specific behavior. That is it. Okay, we have studied so much about this. Should I explain more about positive reinforcement? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Next. Can you relate what this is? From whatever we have learned.
Token economy.
Yes, this is an example of token economy. So what happens in this? This is a star board or a star chart, okay? And especially for small children, we use it to encourage them to involve in a good behavior. So what happens? There'll be 5 or 6 columns or rows, and then boxes like this, and they'll be given good points or stars like this, and if they complete the whole row, then they can get a benefit. So the goal will be already set. Here, what is the goal? Lunch with a friend. See, it's written there. I'm working for lunch with a friend. See, in certain classes, we have permanent seating arrangements, isn't it? Even during lunch breaks, they are not allowed to go and sit in another seat. So for good behaviors, we can give that as a reward. You can change the seat and you can have the lunch with your friend. That is the focus behavior here. So the child might be very interested to gain the stars and also reach the final goal. That is our aim also, to get them study things, to get them do things on their own, and to make them learn new things. And for each good behavior, they'll be given 1 star. Even when you were at school, I mean, when you were physically present at school, didn't you have merit charts and all? Yes. For good behaviors, you get a merit. Yeah. When I was in my school, we used to have one teacher. She taught us English. Okay. And for separate subject, that is for English itself, we had a merit chart. And we called it good points and bad points. Dan merits or demerits, those were called good points and bad points. For the whole class, for the general, general activities, we used to have one merit chart. But apart from that, we had one exclusive one for English. And what she did was, after the academic year or towards the end of the academic year, there'll be one date will be fixed, and this count will be taken. Who got the highest, who got the second highest, and all those things. And she'll give us some stickers and gifts and all by the end of the year. That was done. Amal is laughing. You find it very funny, Amal? No, you used to have it?
Ma'am, here it will be star of the month.
Huh?
Star of the month. Earn badge will be for every month, like behavior star.
Every month?
Like that. Here it was behavioral set. We count every month. For that there will be a badge known as star of the month, which
Star
we
of
should
the
month.
Star of the
Uh,
month. Okay, okay.
yeah,
You had it every month.
yes, ma'am.
Oh, great.
Ma'am,
Yeah. Huh? Nothing more.
ma'am, if we call the badge, we for next time we should give to the other person who gets high marks.
I cannot understand. What is it?
It will be according to ma'am. Badge will be given to us. According.
Badge. Badge will
Uh,
be given. Okay,
uh,
and
if another person score mark more next time, we should give the badge to him.
okay, okay, yes. Yeah, we had this topper system. Hmm? Not the good points, bad points thing. Topper system, which means academic toppers. And we had badges also for this when we, I think, when I was studying at fifth grade or so. Hmm? It was like the golden one, it was metallic. Three badges were there. Golden one will be for the topper, and silver one for the second position. Third one will be, I think, bronze. Three badges will be there, and we would be tense. Will this badge go? Will this badge come? Or will we stop having this? Will somebody else come? Usually there'll be one or two people in the class now who usually get the second one or the first one. It keeps on changing. That was fun actually during that time. People will be anxious to know, and there'll be rumors during that time. There'll be rumors in the class. This time the badge will go to this person. I don't think this person will manage to keep the badge with that person itself. Sometimes somebody else will get the badge. And when the marks come, also they'll sit and calculate. This time badge will go to this person. This time he'll lose his badge. This time she'll lose his badge, like that. Yeah, that was a time actually. Okay. So I hope you understood what token economy is. Just like this, we can set so many different types of tokens also. It might not be confined to the stars and good points alone. We can set different goals. We can set two goals at a time. First you have to achieve this, then you have to achieve this, like that. Okay, that is token economy. The next one that we are going to study is systematic desensitization. Please take down the name. Again, this Z can be S also. Both are right. Systematic desensitization. That's another technique. This is especially important in the field of, regarding phobias. When phobias are being treated, systematic desensitization is very, very useful. And this was developed by somebody called Wolpe. Wolpe. Please keep your videos on, Ashish, Sana, and Sneha. Okay. So from the term, what can you understand? Systematic desensitization. Systematic means
In a step-by-step manner.
in a step-by-step manner, in an orderly fashion. You can say like that. Suppose if I say that if you're conducting a program or if you're hosting a program, I comment that you have done everything in a systematic manner, which means everything was done up to the mark, following different steps, using different orderly manners. Yes, and everything was organized in an organized manner. So from starting from this step, then it goes to the other step, and finally it ends. Like that, there is a systematic pattern. Okay, there are steps followed, and it is done in an orderly manner, in an organized fashion. So that is systematic. Now, what do you mean by desensitization? Desensitization. So that would be
Reducing the sensitivity of the person towards a particular thing that
yeah,
causes the fear.
kind of. Yeah, so sensitization means you are sensitive towards something, isn't it? Sensitive means you're alert about something or you're very much conscious about something. You can relate to that. And desensitization means opposite of that. Like detoxification. Toxification means there are too many toxins in our body. Detoxification means getting rid of those toxins. Okay, just like that, desensitization means reducing, again, in common terms, if you say reducing the sensitivity towards something, reducing your alertness, or if you're fearful towards a stimulus, reducing your fearfulness towards that stimulus. Okay, that is applicable in phobia. So generally, how do you desensitize towards something? There are two things. There are two things, two important things involved in the systematic desensitization. One is relaxation techniques. Okay, one part of it is it is relaxation techniques. It can be muscle relaxation, it can be breathing techniques, anything, meditation, it can be any form. Then next form is the actual desensitization process, in which you set hierarchies of the fearful stimulus. If we are taking the case of phobias, we are setting the hierarchies for the fearful stimulus. And the least fearful stimulus will be given the bottom position in the hierarchy. What do you mean by hierarchy? The order, you know that, right? In Maslow's hierarchy and all, we saw the need hierarchy. Similarly, we have a hierarchy being set. So we'll take the example of phobia towards spiders and study this. First, when a client comes with such complaint, what we do is we interview them. Just as in any other case, or when we meet any other client, we do certain procedures. We establish rapport, we talk with them, then we slowly move on to the main problem. We ask them questions and try to understand what the real problem is, what the complaint is, what are the presenting complaints of the person. And then along with we'll sit with the client itself, and together with the client, we'll set a hierarchy. Again, as I told you, if the client is fearful or phobic towards spiders, arachnophobia, then what happens is there are different things that induces fear in this person, isn't it? A toy spider, the original spider, then picture of spider, then somebody else holding a spider in the hand. All these can be fearful or phobic to the person, to the client. So what happens is we'll set the hierarchy, which is the most fearful one, which is the least fearful one, which is the second fearful one. Just like that, we'll set a hierarchy. So where will be the spider, the real spider in the hand be? If we are setting a hierarchy.
The first or the topmost position.
Yes, the first or the topmost position. Every time you do systematic desensitization, or you talk about it, or you discuss about it, remember the least fearful stimulus, that will be on the lowest part of the hierarchy, be on the bottom part of the hierarchy. So see this picture. In this, in the first picture, the client is shown a picture of the spider, and it is present at a distance. Okay, and this is the first one. Okay, and in the second, I hope you can see these numbers 2, 3, and all. And in the second one, that picture is being taken in her hand. Okay, so she can see that picture close to her. That is the second one. Then third one is the toy spider. Toy spider is present in front of her by somebody else. And then maybe a spider is taken in her hand, or toy spider is taken in her hand, in the other person's hand. It might be therapist. Okay, that is the fourth one. Then the toy spider might be present in her hand. She might take it in her hand. And maybe after that, a real spider is presented in front of her. Okay. After that, the therapist takes the real spider in the hand. Finally, she becomes capable of holding the spider in her hand. Okay. And we also discuss exposure therapy along with this. Exposure means you are exposing the client to the fearful stimulus or the fearful situation. That is exposure therapy. So here you can see this is the most fearful stimulus. Okay, so this will be on the topmost part of the hierarchy. This is given as a graph, that is why it is present in this fashion. And if you're setting the hierarchy, this will be on the bottom part. So hierarchy will be like this, right? And on the bottom part, picture of spider. Picture of spider at a distance. At a distance. That will be the least fearful one. And the most will be taking spider in hand. Okay. And how does the process? We'll discuss the whole process. When after taking interview from the client, we discuss about the hierarchies and all. Okay. And these clients are taught relaxation techniques. Prior to the real exposure, they are taught relaxation techniques. And as we go from the lower part of hierarchy to the top, they are asked to do these relaxation techniques or relaxation methods. Suppose they are exposed to this first. Okay, because that is in the least part of the hierarchy. So we start from there. If this is inducing anxiety, if this situation 1 is creating anxiety in them, then they have to do relaxation. They have to relax themselves. Okay. Then after that, again, they can be presented with this thing itself. Again, if it creates anxiety or fear, again, they are practicing relaxation technique, breathing techniques. Okay. Now, if they are okay with that, if they are okay with this stimulus, then they'll move on to the next one in the hierarchy. That will be here, this hierarchical position. Then again, if taking the picture of spider in hand creates anxiety for the person, again, relaxation techniques are done. Okay. Until that person becomes comfortable in that situation, the relaxation techniques are practiced. Now, if they are comfortable in this situation, they'll move on to the next one. That is seeing or being in the presence of a toy spider. That can be the next one. And again, if anxiety happens, obviously what will happen next? If that situation induces anxiety in the person or fear in the person, what will the therapist do?
Asked to practice relaxation techniques.
Yes, not only ask, actually allow the client to practice relaxation techniques. Okay. Again, this continues from here to here, and finally, the person becomes capable of holding the spider in the hand in a relaxed manner without fearing too much, without being phobic. Okay, that is how it goes. So as I told you, the main things involved, that is the relaxation procedures and the hierarchy. Both of them are very important. And always remember, on the lower part of the hierarchy or on the bottom part of the hierarchy, the least fearful stimulus will come. Okay. So it depends on the person. For some people, pictures might not create any phobia. So we'll start with the toy spider thing. Okay, depends on the client. That is why it is important to discuss with the client and then set the hierarchy. Got it? That is systematic desensitization. Now, and remember, it was developed by Volpe. WOLP, remember that name. Now, one more is there. Before that, this whole systematic desensitization works on the principle of reciprocal inhibition. Please write down principle of reciprocal inhibition. Okay, principle of reciprocal inhibition. Did you notice that most of the techniques that we discussed has some learning principle behind it? Yes, positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Which learning principle? Which one is it? Which conditioning?
Negative reinforcement.
Negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement. Reinforcements and punishments are under which learning principle? Which conditioning?
Operant conditioning.
Operant conditioning or instrumental conditioning. Okay. And this one, aversive conditioning, association. I already told the experiment.
Pavlov's
Pavlos. What is the concept?
classical conditioning.
Classical conditioning. Okay. So again, token economy is also a form of positive reinforcement. So that is also the theoretical background is again operant conditioning or instrumental conditioning. Then systematic desensitization. The principle's name, the specific principle's name is reciprocal inhibition. I just read out, please listen. The principle states that the presence of two mutually opposing forces at the same time inhibits the weaker force. Okay. So here, what is happening? Relaxation is coming, isn't it? Relaxation is one mechanism, and having this fearfulness. Let's take fear. Fear response, stress responses and all. We learned about fight or flight response and all, isn't it? Parasympathetic and sympathetic system both work opposite to each other. One induces fear, one helps to relax. Okay, so when we are doing relaxation techniques, which one will be the system that is working?
Parasympathetic.
Parasympathetic. So parasympathetic will be working here. When you are fearful towards something, which one will be working? Or when you're having anxiety? The opposite one, isn't it? Sympathetic. Yes. So here what happens? Can they work together? Like at the same time? No, right? Like if something is happening, then one comes to counteract. It's not like one system is not functioning at all. Of course, it is functioning, but there is counteraction happening. Okay, so when we are fearful, what happens is we are practiced to relax. Whenever we are fearful, whenever we are anxious, we are practiced to relax because we have already learned the relaxation techniques. We have mastered it already. Then only we'll start the whole process. Okay. So whenever fear comes, again relaxation comes. Again, what happens is according to the principle of reciprocal inhibition, when two opposing forces act, opposing forces in the sense psychological forces, okay. If two opposing forces act, then one will inhibit the weaker one. Okay, so because we have mastered the relaxation technique, we can manage to block this one. We can manage to block the fearful stimulus. Okay, and again, if the fearful stimulus or if the anxiety overcomes our relaxation procedure, again, we increase the amount of relaxation that we are doing. So again, that will counteract the fear or anxiety. So when comes up, the other will come to overcome it. That's how it works. That is the principle of reciprocal inhibition. Reciprocal means between one another, isn't it? As opposing. So reciprocal inhibition. The weaker one will get inhibited. It will get stopped or prevented. Okay, that is the principle behind it. Okay, so just read that portion, page number 98. Meghna, principle of reciprocal inhibition. Just read. Please switch on your videos, children. Alvina, Sneha, Sana.
The principle of reciprocal inhibition operates here. This principle states that the presence of two mutually opposing forces at the same time inhibits the weaker force. Thus, the relaxation response is first built and mildly anxiety-provoking scene is imagined, and
Imagine.
the anxiety is overcome by the relaxation. The client is able to tolerate progressively greater levels of anxiety because his or her relaxed state. Modeling is the procedure wherein the client learns to.
Okay. So I hope you understood reciprocal inhibition. Yes, okay. That is the principle behind which one? Systematic desensitization. Okay. Now next one, which we all know, that is modeling, the technique of modeling. Okay. A very common example, a very common procedure or process that we see in daily life. Remember we discussed about the lipstick example and all? The child observing the mother and applying lipstick all over the face, trying to imitate the mother. Then smoking behaviors, doing like this with the pen, chocolate and all. Yes, yeah, all those are modeling behaviors. Modeling means there will be a role model and that model's behavior will be observed and then imitated. Are you laughing because of the picture? Okay, and that happens. Show something and the child or it can be any other individual that imitates. Here, who is okay? Yeah, so that happens, and there is also one more term related to that: vicarious learning. Please take down vicarious learning. Vicarious learning means learning by observing others. It's another name given for learning by observing others and is used and through a process of rewarding small changes in the behavior, the client gradually learns to acquire the behavior of the model. So in vicarious learning, if this is applied into daily life or in behavior modification or in behavior therapy as such, what is done is the what do you call the client observes the behavior of others and through small rewards this person can change the behavior, the bad behavior that is being focused in the therapy. Okay, that is about vicarious learning. That's all. So, as a summary, we have discussed about various techniques in behavior therapy, starting from the negative reinforcement, then aversive conditioning, then positive reinforcement, and as a part of positive reinforcement or something related to that, we have token economy. Then we studied about systematic desensitization developed by Volpe. And you have to remember two important things. One is mastery of relaxation techniques. The other one is setting hierarchy. The therapist is not the one who prepares the hierarchy and keep before the client comes. Okay, discussing with the client only, we have to set the hierarchy. Stimulus will be on the hierarchy. From the small bits, the bigger part. Okay. And the principle behind systematic desensitization is the principle of reciprocal
Inhibition.
inhibition. Okay. And the last one we learned modeling. That is one role model will be there the person or the individual will try to imitate that behavior. They'll model that behavior. They'll include those elements in their own behavior, that is modeling. And vicarious learning, we apply this in daily life using the principle of vicarious learning, in which an individual observes others and then they modify their behaviors. Maybe small rewards are also involved in that process. Okay. So that's it. Do you have any doubt in behavioral techniques? Just go through the portion and see. Next is cognitive therapy. After this, we'll be learning cognitive therapy. And along with that, CBT also, cognitive behavior therapy. Then what is left? Humanistic is left, biomedical is left. Topics. Okay. So I think ethics, Ashish has taken that topic, ethics. Then who else would like to take the rest of the topics for seminar? Factors contributing to healing in psychotherapy, that is one. We have 4 points in that. Then half of alternative therapies, the rest of the half, second person will take. We can decide now. We have, I think, few minutes more. Those who didn't present a seminar in the last chapter, you can present it in this chapter. Grishma, which one? Factors contributing to healing in psychotherapy. Okay. You don't have to have focus from the textbook. The focus of the seminar is to understand how much you have understood the topic. So I'll be taking the topic in a brief manner, and after that you can present the seminar on the same topic. Just read from the textbook or read from the PPT if you are preparing a PPT. Just explain as if we discuss in the class. Okay. Just be free and just explain or describe what is happening in that portion. And this has marks also. That is why I'm forcing too much.
Ma'am, your voice is being cut between.
Okay. No. Seriously. Okay. No, anyways, it's time. You just decide the portion. Clear? Decide the portion. Okay. Who else is left now? Elvina, yes.
Alternative therapy.
Starting portion or the end part?
Starting portion.
Starting portion. So first 2 paragraphs. Okay, till the line. You'll get so many pictures from this. Okay, Elvina.
Ma'am, in between break voice.
First 2 paragraphs you have to take. Okay. Did you hear?
In between your voices break.
Include so many pictures.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, who's next? Who else is left now? Raina has taken, right? Raina has already taken. Aishwarya, did you take? No. So you can take that portion. Alternate therapies, the second half. Okay, now who did not get a portion? Amal K. Saji? Yes. But I don't know when he'll come for the class. We'll see about that. I was planning for one more portion, but let me see. Others, everybody got, right? Amal has done, Raina has done, Meghna has done, right? Meghna? Yes. Eating disorder. Yes. Sana also, Snehan, Sana has done. Okay. Mehek, did she get the topic? Did she do a seminar? I don't remember. I'll ask. Okay, no problem. Okay, then we shall wind up. Do you have any doubt in behavioral techniques? And I'm telling you, there are a lot of other techniques used for behavior therapy. They have just mentioned the most important and the common ones in the textbook. Okay. If you have free time, if you're interested, you can Google it. Fine. Okay, then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.